A recording here too?
Yep.
Cool. What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Tuesday Show brought to you by Blue Light Media. My name is Mikhail, and today I'm really excited for our episode because we're for sure not going to talk about digital marketing. However, we are going to talk about some sales tactics and some other forms of marketing that can definitely help grow your business. And to help me with that conversation, we have Nima Bean. Nima is the president of sales at Propaganda E-Liquid, based out here in Costa Mesa, California, or is it Santa Ana?
Irvine.
Oh, it's Irvine. There's this whole like trifecta of like streets where you're in three places at once.
There's a few of us. There's a few of us out here. There is.
Anyways, Nima, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what your role is at Propaganda?
Sure. So my name's Nima. As Mikhail said, I'm the president of sales at Propaganda, and I do quite a few things over there, but mostly I coach the sales team. I train the sales reps, whether they're new or they've been there for a while. If you work in sales, I'm sure you get rusty if you don't practice. You constantly need those reminders. Remembering the basics really helps a lot. And I try to make sure everyone stays on task. It's really easy for sales reps to goof off or forget they're actually at work. A lot of us are friends. I'm sure you know what that's like, Mikhail.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So that's what we do there.
Yeah. So Propaganda E-Liquid is, how do you describe it? Is it just e-juice for vapes? Like, I don't know the exact terminology.
So, whether you know about vaping a whole lot or not, the way I describe it to most strangers is, we manufacture, wholesale, and distribute the flavored liquid nicotine that goes into the electronic cigarettes. And I'll usually, point to this and they'll be like, oh, do you make the whole thing? And I'm like, no, we don't make the whole thing, just the liquid that goes inside.
Okay, cool. So what I find really interesting about this, for those of you who might know, is on Facebook, Instagram, and Google AdWords, you actually cannot promote ads for a tobacco product, correct?
Correct.
Right. So Nima and his team have had to find new ways to sell product. Can you actually go through your sales process currently?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you're definitely right. And we weren't always a tobacco product. That changed August 8th, 2016. The FDA ruled we are a tobacco product.
Wait, real quick on that. Sorry to interrupt you, but there is no tobacco in it, is there? Like, there's just nicotine. Some of them do. I remember.
So nicotine is sourced from tobacco. However, there is tobacco-free nicotine, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're using tobacco-free nicotine, it's a tobacco product. We have a 0 milligram product that has no nicotine. That is also a tobacco product.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. So the sales process, basically, this is an industry that has quite a lot of competition. It didn't take a lot of like finances to start an e-liquid company originally 5-6 years ago when a lot of us started. So there's a lot in the industry now. So what we do is we call shops. We will send them samples. We'll try to get an owner on the phone, obviously, or a manager or a decision maker. But here's the thing. Most vape shops are small businesses. So sometimes we might be talking to someone who just works behind the counter. It doesn't actually matter though, because the owner could be 5 feet away. The owner could be their mom or their dad. I've had that scenario happen where later, the mom calls me and they're like, my kid will not stop talking about your product. And when she says kid, he's of vaping age, obviously,
right.
21 plus, if they're in California. But we'll send them samples and then we'll follow up with them just like any other sales position. You have to follow up. A lot of salespeople don't follow up. You won't get the deal if you don't follow up. Some deals take 3 or 4 follow-ups. I've had ones take a year.
Oh, yeah.
So,
fun fact for all the viewers too, Nima and I used to cold call at the same company and be telemarketers. Those were the days. So I feel like that was a really like where we learned a lot about the consistency of your sales pitch and what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So who's responsible for sending out the sample product? Is that you or the sales rep?
So that's the sales team. We have a sales team. And yeah, they'll call the shops. They'll send out those products. We obviously have a warehouse that like packs and ships those. We have a really streamlined process. So once the sales rep enters the sample in our system, it auto sends to the warehouse and they just know what to do from there. And they could put like little notes like, hey, include my business card, for example. Okay. Or, if they really were talking to that person and they're like, hey, by the way, I've tried like a couple of your other flavors. I really like this one. We'd include like one extra for them, if we know they're going to like it, things like that.
All right, cool. So once they get the product, what happens then? They get a call 3 days later, and they just try to close them. Can you walk me through the pitch?
Perfect world, yeah, perfect world. But what really happens most of the time, you follow up 3 or 4 days later, and they're like, "Oh, who are you again?" Because a lot of these shops, they're getting 20 plus calls a day from people just like us. So oftentimes we remind them who we are, remind them what the flavors are, and chances are they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, those came. I haven't tried them yet." So then another task, another follow up. That process might happen 3 times.
Right.
Then they've tried the flavors. We're on follow-up like 5 now, maybe 6. From there, if they've enjoyed the flavors, awesome, great. Is this something you think your customers would like? Did you have a favorite among them? Try to build some values, paint the picture, assume the close a little bit. And then you just try to move the call flow along towards a close. Price comes up naturally. This industry, there's a lot of haggling that happens.
I'm sure.
And it's different because in the traditional tobacco industry, like cigarettes, for example, no cigarette store is buying their cigarettes directly from the manufacturer. The manufacturer sells to a master distributor, who sells to a wholesaler, who then sells to the retail store. But with
similar
us,
to alcohol, right? Yeah. It's crazy.
Similar to almost every industry except us. We're still all getting our footing. We have distributors, we have wholesalers, but it's still a little bit of a free-for-all.
So I have a question for you. You said you send over the sample.
Right.
Then the sales rep asks if the prospect has then tried the sample. If the prospect says no, are they still trying to close them on that spot, or is it a policy that no, you don't pitch them until they tried it?
So we definitely will do a trial close from time to time. I try to get these guys to push a trial close on every call. You never know. I've had countless calls where I've said something as silly as, "Hey, have you ever considered just jumping and seeing if this net will appear?" And it sounds so cheesy. And I've had people that have said, why not? Let's see what happens. Like the initial order could be as little as a couple $100s. Most businesses could put that together. The sales reps, even if they'll see that the customer or the lead, hasn't tried the product yet, they've seen it, so they may ask about the packaging. How did it arrive? What are your initial impressions on the branding of the product or what it looks like? Can you picture that being on your shelf? You could still assume the close a little bit from there and kind of paint the picture of the deal happening.
You mentioned paint the picture a couple times now. How important is that when pitching this product?
It's important in pitching any product, I feel like. Especially a lot of the times the people that own these shops and work at these shops, just like us, they're really passionate about what they do. They really care about vaping. It's something they really enjoy. It's become a hobby for a lot of us. So they have their thoughts and opinions and feelings about what something looks like as far as branding goes. Is it something they feel they would use personally? So asking them questions like, "Hey, is this something you would use? Is this a flavor that's up your alley maybe?" Or someone or other people that work there, that can be huge.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you noticed a correlation between somebody's closing ratio when they have tried? And it's not about trying the product; it's more about sticking to the process. Is what I'm trying to pull out here. Have you noticed a correlation? If the person that doesn't wait until their lead has tried the flavor, is there a correlation between their closing ratio and sticking with that process?
So the industry has changed a lot. About 2 years ago, things like a one-call close were pretty common. You could call a shop, you can put the pressure on, and if they'd have heard of you a little bit and maybe some customers had asked about your product here or there's a good chance you could get it. It was not as competitive. It almost feels like in the past 2 years, the amount of e-liquid companies has just quadrupled or multiplied by tenfold. So if you attempt to put that pressure on them now, we're kind of in this unique situation where it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
They can just try someone else's samples. Right. So you really have to build that rapport. And if you've built a ton of rapport, you can press a little harder, but it's unlikely you have built so much rapport in the first call to do that.
So speaking of rapport, let's talk about repeat customers then. Is this a majority of where your sales reps are getting their monthly sales is through repeat orders, or do they have a quota as well for new accounts?
So luckily, we've never had to have a quota. We do a ton of repeat business. Obviously, it is a consumable product. All of our customers reorder, of course. We have a customer service team dedicated to that. And the cool thing is the sales rep can definitely sell to that customer again new products because we have about 5 or 6 brands now. So say they, sold the customer our Hype collection, right? And they love it, they enjoy it.
Your Hype collection.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah,
such a cool brand. Or we saw some of that come through, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
We were actually making fun a little bit when we named it that because
I like the Hype. Like now, how did we incorporate this into everything else we're doing?
Well, it was like 3 years ago, and they were describing stuff as like hypey, and they're like, I want stuff that's hypey. I want stuff that's hypey, and we're like, we have the Hype collection. Don't.
Okay. I actually thought that the Hype collection was like what you send a prospect, like to hype them up. Oh, right? For me, like that'd be dope. It's like, hey, send them the Hype package.
My sales reps do enjoy sending the Hype collection. It's like their favorite brand to push. Sorry, I forgot what your question was.
The question was the correlation between closing ratios and following the complete sales process.
Okay, so yeah, you got to stick to like a flow, whether that's a script you have or you've been doing the job for so long, it's kind of a natural flow. You have to stick to it. You have to have your tie downs. You have to ask questions that engage them. You have to pulse check them. If you're not doing those things, especially the pulse check, I'm a huge fan of that because on the phone, it lets you know if the person is with you or not, if they're even paying attention. So I haven't seen a huge difference in closing ratio. The guy that's going to go for the trial close is definitely going to get a little bit more deals than the guy that doesn't, because you always have those people that are like, to hell with it, let's see what happens.
So it's almost like, at the very least, if you don't follow the complete process, at least ask for the sale every time you're on the phone.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
Is that the number one selling secret for Nima, or do you have like something up your sleeve that you could share with the viewers today about like what is your secret to selling more cases or more deals? I've seen you sell, marketing services. Now this, I'm sure you could sell anything. It's the same formula. What is your secret?
I care a lot about what I sell. I believe in what I sell. I don't believe a non-sociopath can sell something that they don't believe in and be very successful. I believe I've had a ton of success for a few reasons. One, I listened to the people that came before me. I listened to the people that were really good. You were one of them for a long time. Mikhail actually trained me originally. He's way too humble to say that, so I'm going to say it. I had other trainers too, but he was definitely one of the best. Mindset is huge. How I wake up in the morning. And there's so many things. I don't want to talk forever, but ultimately, sales is a way of life for me. It's not just a job I clock in and clock out from. It's a mentality. 100. And I try to be like, I heard the saying, I want to be the man my dog thinks I am, right? Be the best version of yourself. Study, learn, invest in yourself, and just like show up and try. Don't be scared.
Damn, dude. That was heavy. I'm happy that we went that direction on the Tuesday show. Now, for anybody that's vaping, wants to get in touch with you for sales advice or anything like that, where can they find you online?
sales@propagandaeliquid.com. You can shoot me an email there. My Instagram is Nemo_just_a-Nemo. I also have a YouTube channel if you like speakers. I review them, and that is Nemo Propaganda. 2 separate words. That's my YouTube channel. But
you branded your own stuff, Propaganda.
Yeah, I love the company.
That's amazing, bro. I'm so pumped to hear that right now. Like, I love that you just said, like, I believe in this, and your own personal brand, you're putting it on there. Respect.
I'm not an owner, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Like, I work there, and I just love the company.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Pumped to hear it. Well, you heard it straight from Nima, and I honestly, it goes into our own motto, as you guys know. But before we go into that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that checked out the video today. Again, we'll link up all of Nima's information in the show notes so that you can get directly in touch with him. But until next week, be sure that no matter what you do, you put your heart into it, and we'll see you next time on the Tuesday show.